Hey y'all, grown black folks talk, back on the climb. And if you saw my previous video, I said at the end, I'm going to try to do a light and love video because I know this is a very stressful day for many of us. And even indirectly, although I'm not directly affected by SNAP benefits not being paid out, I know that there's going to be people that are going to come to me because that's how this is. Black women are going to have to form up their networks so that they are able to help themselves, as our grandmothers had to do. Our grandmothers figured it out before SNAP, which is how we're here today. So we're going to figure this out. But in the meantime, since a certain demographic of men has decided that they're just going to be online talking about the government is breaking up with black women and now they're going to have to come back to us, not understanding how government works and that the shutdown can't last forever. When Walmart and them start reporting their SNAP-related losses just before Christmas, when they're trying to make their books look good so that they get their stock investment next year and don't go through a sell-off next year, sooner or later they're going to reopen it just because their corporate masters, the corporate masters of the federal government, are going to demand it. But, I wouldn't expect a group of men so powerless that they have to punch, that they hope the government can make it so they can take black women and children back into slavery, to understand how any of that works. But in the meantime, in between, I've been meeting the kind of men that I really like. Race is not important because they cross a couple of races. I like all of them tremendously. They range in height to my 5'3" to well over 6 feet tall. They are all, interestingly, and I guess it's because my father was a longshoreman, they're all working men, if you will. They're working class men. I'm a working class man's daughter, so that makes sense. And none of them are going to be, they wouldn't be the male equivalent of Instagram baby, but I'm 44 years old. I was born before that was even a thing. So that doesn't make any difference. They're all relatively attractive men, but you know what I like about them? I get to walk through their worlds, and I get to see what they're responsible for. And what they're responsible for makes my life better. They are property managers on my block. I refer to him as Mr. Dawnstruck. One day I walked outside wearing the colors of a deep sunset, and he just looked like the sun had come up in the middle. He's like, good morning. I said, well, it's 2:00, sir, but it's still morning in Hawaii. We laughed. He's just sort of been discombobulated for years at this point. It's been a couple years since that happened, and I make sure to tell him how much I enjoy the landscaping he does for his property because it makes something beautiful for me to walk by going to and from my house. I will probably, depending on what route I take back to my house, will walk by his handiwork today. I get to see that he's a good steward. He's maybe 5, so I'm 5'3". He's maybe 5'7". I like the painter. I call him the cherubic painter who lives up the street from me. He and I are on the same wavelength about colors. He gave me a bookmark that he painted himself. And somehow, having maybe met me once before, he managed to get all the colors that I was wearing on a particular day back into that painting. But I didn't know that. I picked one sight unseen, and it just happened to have the same colors and the same hairstyle that I have, which means at some point going back and forth, I had been an inspiration to him because I was wearing the exact same colors he used to paint that. I like him tremendously. He's a fellow artist. He's probably 5'5", and he's about my girth. And then there's the gentle greengrocer, about my same height. About the same build, accounting for a working man being a stronger upper body build than mine, because that tends to happen in men. And this is someone who has introduced my life to so many food blessings. It is ridiculous. So I'm trying to, I'm keeping, working on a weight loss journey, needing more protein, needing more fruits and vegetables to eat with the protein. This man has revolutionized my life. I'm up here eating better than I ever have. Like, okay, if you try this, once I was there, they were doing, someone was doing products, and he saw me like, come on over here. This is the best product that they make in the Bay Area for this. It has high protein, blah, blah, blah. And I told him, I said, look, this is not even in your department. You just out here blessing me. I like that man tremendously. Gentle Giant Nurse. Met him once. When I was at the doctor, did intake at urgent care. I had a sinus something or other that just would not go away. It turned out it was a massive we don't really have an end to allergy season here some years. And it has just gotten completely out of hand. And so Confidence with Love and Level Up Single Mom insisted that I go to the doctor. So I went to urgent care because they were worried I had pneumonia. Didn't have pneumonia, but this is how they found out I had anemia that had progressed. Listen, Fly, y'all are ridiculous. Flies are beautiful, but no, not up here. I know that I look as good as you do today with the colors, but go. Thank you. Out in real life nature, stuff happens. Anyway, took good care of me. Very, very knowledgeable. Was shocked. Black woman patient. He must have been at least, if I'm 5'3", he's at least 6'3". I was like, your blood pressure is better than mine. I'm like, well, let me tell you how I'm doing it. And so we started talking about fruits and vegetables and ginger. And he said, I don't really have time to cook because I work 12 hours on and 12 hours. But I have a crock pot. I said, you got this. If I at my size can keep my blood pressure under control, you have even more specialized knowledge. Like he was able to tell me without telling me I didn't have pneumonia because he could look at what my oxygenation was. Of course, now I'm up there getting a blood transfusion 2 weeks later with still near perfect oxygenation because I'm out here running asymptomatic anemia that wasn't even showing up. They're like, how is your blood count this low? The black nurses were all laughing because they knew. And the white nurses were like, I would be in the bed all dizzy and messed up. I didn't say anything. The black nurses and I already knew what was going on, but that's another story. I'd adapted. Couldn't have adapted much further. Probably would have been dead in February. So again, always a thank you to Confidence with Love and Level Up Single Mom, because they helped to save my life, always. But also I met this individual, like him tremendously. 12 hours on, 12 hours off. We may never, never meet again on the bumpy road to love, but I'll always, always keep the memory of, always, always. A kind man, a servant of the people, good steward. He took extra special care of me that day, and that started me on the road to recovery. Liked him tremendously. The store manager, same place that Gentle Greengrocer works. This man worked out how, even with the tariffs, to keep the imported goods from going up more than 15 cents. Because he gets such volume coming through that little store. So I've checked. I've actually been in there. He is now out-competing the other local stores because he has managed to keep the price down. A little place, I was in there this morning buying, you go in there and what they have is a day-old program. They don't keep their meat that they've cut an extra day. So they have a poor boy sandwich thing that they do. So you can get a big, beautiful sandwich with plenty of protein for $5. You got day-old bakery goods. They don't keep those longer. They'll put a whole bunch of the same type in a bag and let you walk out of there with 4, 5, 6 donuts for about $2 or $3. I don't do that either because I don't need all that. But I'm saying, if I knew a sister that was struggling, I have a way that I can make sure that she would eat for a day. The whole, she and a couple of kids could eat for a day for 15. We even throw some fruit in there and say, you got to stay healthy. But, how can we do this? Well, here's you, and then you split this up with the kids, and here's some fruit to go with it, and, get hungry later on, split up a donut, or 2 or 3. And we can still do this for under $15. This particular store manager, and I will mention his race because it's important. I went to college with him. He, I think, is biracial black. And he worked this out brilliantly. So it is the best store in town, and nobody knows that it's the best store in town. But if you start to look around, you notice it's highest quality food for the most reasonable prices. So he's either the manager or the assistant manager. But I talk with him about what's going on, and he's on top of everything there. I watched him give a new supplier, someone who wanted to be a new supplier. I said, man, that is the smoothest no I have ever heard anybody give. He just cracked up laughing. I'm like, this is basically just like, who did I make? Because he's into sports. I made some analogy. He just broke out laughing. Like I said, these are all, I can talk across races about these men, but these are men that I like. But I like them where they are. I like them making the world around me a better place. I like the fact that there is zero possibility that I will be with them on a romantic level. None. They're busy, I'm busy. I talked to Gentle Greengrocer. He's like, what are you doing, Father? I'm like, nothing. I don't really observe. He said, I don't either. I'm working. That's sort of the mindset. But that's how I was raised too. That was my dad. Uh, if he needed to work close to a holiday, he usually would get time off for the holidays. But if when the minor holidays, he didn't worry about none of that. Dad taught us that you do what you're called to do every day. Mom taught us the same thing because mom homeschooled us. So she had to be on every day. And we didn't take off during the summer. We didn't take the whole summer off. We took 2 weeks off, max. And so the intellectual development that you see, and one of the reasons I go so hard for them now that they are in much more need of me, and you don't see me as often, is because that's what they taught. That's how they raised us. The reason I go hard for the next 2 generations, because my students are now 2 generations deep. I'm only 44. That's a blessing. The reason I go so hard for them is because that's what we were taught. So when I look around the world for men that I enjoy their company and enjoy walking through their works across a number of races, but I will do an honorable for the store manager, who is, it's been a long time. We were in college together. So I'm trying to remember what he said his background was then. I think he's biracial, biracial black. I'll mention him to just say that there are men like my father out there, though my father is full African American. There are still a few. He is the one among that group of men that I mentioned. Those are the kind of things. Yes, I've noticed their height, their girth, their weight, what they look like. The store manager is actually the youngest one of that bunch, and he and I are about peers. Well, no, Mr. Other store manager, I think he's the assistant. He's 48. I just found out his age. So they're all in there with me. The 2 store managers are with me. The others are a little bit older. What I love about them is that I know they're good stewards. Now, I would have to talk to the women in their life to know if they were good stewards of the women and children around them. I would have to talk to their sisters, their mamas, and because there is not enough interest in this world between any of us for us to be doing that. I do not need to know. That is none of my business. Nor will it ever be my business, because it is not my will at this time to take a mate. It actually hasn't been for some time. Like, I'm 44. Call it at least 8 years since I've even thought about it seriously. And I remember I have it written in a journal somewhere from 10 years ago that if this doesn't work out, I've exhausted the pool of quote unquote good Christian men in the black church circle that I'm in. So after this is nothing. It's not that I am mourning this particular man. It's just that there's nothing else available. I never dated the bad boys. I found out that all have sinned among good Christian churchmen. Well, I should say good churchmen. I found out that all have sinned. And then, of course, there was Sergeant Love. And he chose himself. I'm too old for you. I'll ruin your life. And he was right, because I would have been stuck trying to take care of him as well as my parents. And there wouldn't have been enough of me to go around. Between my community responsibilities and my parents, and they weren't even having the trouble that they're having today, but already some things had to be kept an eye on. I already nearly died of anemia before even knowing I was doing it, just with them in my regular life. Sergeant Love was right. He foresaw. If I have any regret, it would be that. But in retrospect, having seen what's happened, how I would have been trying to handle all 3 of their lives at the same time, I can't even regret that. He was right. But having known Sergeant Love and then the gentleman that I spoke of after that, and both for their different reasons not being able, there's no higher I can go in this particular circle. And where I'm interested in other circles, that gave me also time to figure out that God knew what he was talking about in 1 Corinthians 7. The single woman does better to walk with him and serve him without distraction. And unfortunately, at this particular moment in history, A whole lot of men are letting it be known that they want us to worship them to survive. And that's not a reference to race either. It is just amusing to see relatively powerless black men running on the coattails of the oppressors that they so wish they could have been. So angry with God for not letting them be white slave owners. So wanting the same privileges. So much a failure. Meanwhile, my dad as store manager held in honor. Black men like that always will be held in honor. Pastor Kiva L. McNeil and Deacon Rufus Haynes will always be held in honor. Why? They're good stewards of what God has given them. They take care of the people and the women and children. They happen to know that true religion is in James chapter 2, I believe. True religion and undefiled before the Father is to take care of the widows and the orphans and keep oneself unspotted from the world. Well, the thing about it is, children who've had their fathers abandon them are half orphans. And in those days, you were about that close to being an orphan because everything came through the father in the Roman Empire. So if your father walked out on you or died, which is the normal way that happened, you were essentially an orphan. So the children of the single mother would qualify. So I don't have problems with the men who understand. And the other thing about that is, even if you could find a way not, although I wouldn't entertain a conversation, the command to do good to all and to look out for the most needy, which is recurs over and over and over again in the Bible, would still catch all. So I like the men. And I enjoy walking through the world with the men who understand what the Creator put them here for. Now, I don't know the faith of any of these men per se. I don't have to know that either, because we're not going to be doing any more without walking through each other's worlds as basically neighbors. And that's fine. But if I were, and I have some models from larger culture, international culture that I would consider as well. But all these men kind of fit the same line. Like my favorite opera singer, beautiful basso profundo voice, who, when asked, and he was world famous by this time, and when asked, his brother was part of a neighborhood singing group in some little town in Germany, and he had come to visit his brother at that time, said, "Would you come around the corner?" Absolutely. And went and sang with them that whole evening, charged them nothing, enjoyed it. And people are still, I know this story because people are still telling it. That same mindset of, I'm just a steward. No matter what I've given, I'm here to bless the people. I like that. I was raised by that 3 generations. I entertain nothing else. And even though it is not my will to be a wife, standing on 1 Corinthians 7, and God having told me and every Christian woman, you're going to be more peaceful if you stay single. If you don't have a mate, don't go look for one. There are men that I revere and I enjoy that I meet. There are men that I'm attracted to and enjoy. And they range between 5'2"-ish, 5'2", 5'3", which is me, all the way up to 6'3". That's never made any difference to me. Do you understand what you're on earth to do? Do you understand that you're a steward? Do you understand that you're not here to be Satan's little helper? Of any race, because Satan's little helpers are in all races. The Bible clearly says you are a child of God or you are a child of the devil. Yes, 2 families you get into. People find that very offensive about Christianity. But if you walk around and you're honest and you look at the behavior of a lot of the evil men and their little handmaidens in every race, you will find out that the Bible is still true. And if some of those handmaidens who are behaving in satanic ways happen to be church folks, you will know that as we've been doing our series of zero knowledge Christians, there's a very good possibility that they are children of Satan masquerading as Constantine's little helpers. How he Christianized, how he appropriated Christianity to try to prop up empire, which is exactly what white evangelicals in this country are doing in bed with the type of people who want the country to choose between food and health care. I like men who are not on that wavelength. And if I were at some point to take a husband, if it was God's will and he let me know that it was time to make myself ready to do that, it's because he can do it. if I'm called to marriage, because that's how that would have to happen, then I already know who I would be looking for. I would be looking for someone with the characteristics of the greatest of all who became a servant, Jesus Christ himself. And someone, hey, cutie pie, gorgeous little baby, someone who exemplified the characteristics. You can be great at what you do and never lose the feeling that you are the steward of it and the steward of the lives of the people around you. And also, because that's also who I am. I don't spend a lot of time talking about my accomplishments and what I'm doing because it's not relevant. It doesn't have to do, me seeking status has nothing to do with my stewardship. I don't need to seek status. I already know who I am. I know what I'm here to do. And if I were called to marriage, it would be with a man of a similar type. And then he would be wrestling with his innate human nature and desire to play God with a woman who would be like, excuse me? No, you my husband. But you're not being like Christ when you try to be Satan over me. No. I had to be a man ready for that. And vice versa. Because I was a highly intelligent person with a human nature. I can be out of pocket sometimes too. We all need help with our human natures. As Confidence with Love said, we all have to work on our bad behaviors. And sometimes we need someone else's perspective because we all have blind spots. We all have to face the consequences of our bad behavior. And human relationships is basically being married to your accountability partner. If you do it right. But also with a fellow steward. All I would be doing with him, we would blend and extend. My grandfather, in some ways, is sort of the ideal here. He and my grandmother blent and extended. Blended? Never thought about that. Blended and extended. We're going to go there. My grandfather and grandmother blended and extended so effectively that their legacy is still walking loose in San Francisco today. They adopted my mother, meaning that all that you have enjoyed and participated in from this channel is their legacy, blended and extended. Yep. They had all kinds of foster children after that too. They kept on. They made sure that the kids in my church knew who the Lord was for real. And then my mom picked up to work, and then I picked up to work after that. Mom is still in it as much as she can be. Mom married a man who also puts time and hard money down, making sure kids have what they need on more than one occasion. So that would be who I was looking for. And the men I like at least show the, shall we say, the beginning of being able to operate in this fashion. About them, I will never know. I'm not going to get into that with them unless one of them shows a great deal of interest. And then there's a whole application process, and then there's Hall of Vetting 101 and 102 that I've learned from Confidence with Love. Shout out to Confidence with Love, that I then got to put them through. I would rather not, because I know there ain't no chance. That ain't what I'm trying to do right now. But I have a baseline. These are men that I enjoy. These are men whose works make my life better around me as my neighbors. Oh, yeah. And so if I were to be called to marriage, it's the only type of person I would entertain. These are also the only type of people I want me around me as friends. I don't have time to be deifying any man in my circle. Period. My father, being the servant that he is now, having come to the age, gets unquestioned service from me. But even if, if we have difficulties, we can be like, I'm telling the Lord on you. We both can do that. Because, sometimes people are out of pockets, and we talk to the Lord about each other to help the other one understand. So that happens. But even so, no other man I know has earned that or will ever receive it. Haven't earned it. Hasn't shown me anything to show that he should. But I have a baseline. A baseline that I enjoy. A baseline that I unconsciously have stayed out of trouble and away from a lot of things, a lot of men who could have very badly hurt me and distressed my life. But the baseline was always there. My father and my grandfather said it. And I know that for some of you, you did not have that particular privilege. So I'm letting you know what I look for so that you can kind of look for it in your own life. Don't look for people that you can't walk through and see some work of their hands. Don't entertain men who have nothing else going on for them but just boasting, arrogance, and pride. Look for men that you can see that they manage their life in good stewardship. Are things for the people of all levels flourishing around them? Whatever their area of responsibility, is he handling it well? Because that's a baseline to let you know if he's going to be able to handle anything else well. The men I love are, can't say that I love them. The men I like are responsible men, and the things that they do that I can observe over a fairly long period of time or on one huge occasion are done with such excellence that it stands out. All of them in their way are a blessing to me. And I try to be as encouraging as I can to be a blessing to encouraging them to keep on doing what they are doing. That's my baseline. I'm sticking to it. On this day when other people are operating in fear and some men are out here celebrating, thinking that this shutdown is going to last long enough for us to come back and kiss their smelly feet. No, absolutely not. But there are people out here who are good stewards. Don't deal with those who are not. Kiss no feet to try to get to a man. Read A Black Woman Centered by Maya Love Edwards and decenter the idea that you have to worship some man to survive. Even as now, her book does not account for a Christian. I'm not the fully liberated woman in her view. I'd be a 4.75 out of 5 because Jesus Christ is a man, but also God. And he, being the greatest of all, became the servant of all. You meet a man like that, you're still not supposed to worship him. He's just a man. But don't give men the time of day who have not gotten over one to worship their own smelly behinds. Particularly not now, when so many are openly trying to put this country back to where you have to depend on them to survive. You can do better than to get entangled if you just hold on and look at what do you have stewardship of, and are you handling it magnificently? Who do you have stewardship of, and do you understand how to treat that well? And then, if I watch you treat me as a black woman a particular way, if I'm in a vulnerable situation like, going to urgent care, that's also a good baseline. Can you at least be professional? Are you open if you find out something surprising about me that would put me at a higher level than you somewhere? Are you open to understanding how that is? Are you willing to learn without becoming all offended? Because, I'm ahead of you in some ways. Can you take that from a black woman? Can we learn and grow together in whatever association we're going to be in? Are there any indications? Things to look for, particularly now. Don't get entangled. Don't get desperate. Don't get entangled. It can mean your life. That was true yesterday. It's definitely true today. Y'all have a good day now. I decided to do these two sunny topics just because there's a lot of fear out there. I want to put a little sunshine, a little love, a little light, a little hope. All right, I'm going to have to I'm working on 2 more Zero Knowledge videos, and I think they'll be the 2 last of that series. And then I've got some other things. More Aunties is coming back either this week or next week. I got to lock that down with Confidence with Love this weekend. And we're going to be talking about the GON Discord and what that's about, and networks of black women to get into so that you can find the resources that you need. Black women doing for black women and children, more resources you can find. But in the meantime, in between time, if you're looking for more like that, may I recommend Stephanie Perry and Marissa Price to you. Marissa Price Heals, M-A-1-R-I-2-S-A, M-A-R-I-S-S-A. Price is in the price of everything. Heals. That's her YouTube handle. And Stephanie Perry, I think it's just Stephanie Perry. Some networks that you can get into in order to be able to find resources and support that you need at a time like this. And Confidence with Love and I have the GON Discord, and we're going to come to you with some more information about that either this coming Thursday, or the next Thursday. Or the way we yak, maybe both. Don't know yet, but soon for sure. Y'all enjoy your day. Don't be afraid. Don't get involved with any men who are just a waste of time, air, and space. And don't worry. The men who think they running stuff, running into the ground, eventually they're going to figure out that they're going to collapse too if they keep up the foolery. Just government shutdowns not going to last indefinitely. I mean, it is going to last indefinitely and that we don't know, but it's not going to last forever. When these corporations realize that they're going to have a retail crash toward the end of the year and they have to pretty up their books, some of them are going to put pressure on the people that they need to, and they'll get this moved on. So do what you need to do for now, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye. Thank you for listening.